Welcome to another edition of Ask Isaiah. It's your host, Isaiah Rhodes. And on the next few episodes, we're going to discuss the Big East tournament. This year, I was honored with the opportunity to cover the Big East tournament, covering two teams, Georgetown and Seton Hall University. Just so you guys can see the credential, there's nothing fake about it. 2018 Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden. Now, last night, Georgetown was defeated by St. John's University in a compelling game. Both teams played exceptionally well. It was a good flow to the game, but it was a tale of two halves. In the first half, St. John's was carried almost exclusively by their standout guard, Shamari Pons, and they didn't really have much balance. They shot efficient, but it wasn't much balance. And on Georgetown's side, they shot out the gym, 9 of 16 from the field, from the three-point line. And then their big-time scorer inside, Jesse Govan, played exceptionally well too, scoring 20 points in the first half, 20 of his 28 in the game. In the second half, St. John's made great adjustments in terms of the interior, and they forced Georgetown to almost exclusively shoot from the outside. They only made three-pointers for the rest of the game, and you saw more balance from St. John's in terms of scoring. They were able to get 5 players to make at least 5 field goals, and they shot 54% from the field. When you look at how they were able to score, as I mentioned, Shamari Pons played exceptionally well in the first half. In the second half, he didn't have to do as much. He still was able to sprinkle in buckets in total, scoring 26 points, shooting 9 of 14 from the field. But he didn't have to focus on facilitating and scoring as much. He was able to allow his teammates to create also. Now, in terms of the players that were standouts in the second half, you saw great performances from Tariq Owens. He was 6 of 9 from the field. Also, Marvin Clark came on in the second half, 6 of 14 from the field, scoring 16 points. But one of the great players for St. John's who really came on in the second half, not just as a scorer, but as someone who was able to galvanize the garden crowd, Justin Scott. Scott was able to get a huge alley-oop slam that really energized the Garden crowd, which in turn galvanized the St. John's team. And that really changed the momentum of the game. And once that alley-oop slam went down, Georgetown realized they were in for a strong game. Now, for Patrick Ewing in his first year as head coach at Georgetown, his first head coaching job, he really had to cultivate and really tap into a young team. And it showed at times that they were a bit overwhelmed during the game. St. John's really was able to manipulate what they really wanted to do, especially when it came to Govan defensively. They really baited Georgetown into certain plays on the interior that really forced Govan in difficult positions in terms of scoring. That's why the second half scoring was down. But I think in total, what Patrick Ewing was able to do in his first year is only going to build the program in the future. He's going to be able to get big-time recruits that are going to be able to compete at a high level, and hopefully he can establish a program that will be made in his image for the future. And for St. John's in day 2, they're going to be going against Xavier. Xavier is a third-ranked team in this particular bracket for the Big East tournament. So it's going to be a tough matchup for them. But for St. John's to salvage the season the way that they have in terms of dealing with injuries to not only Pons, but guard Marcus Levette, it really changed the trajectory of their season. But they were able to defeat some high-ranked teams in the toward the latter part of the regular season. So hopefully in their particular game tonight against Xavier, they'll be able to put forth a great effort and challenge for the Big East crown. Now, am I covering for day 2? I'll be covering Seton Hall and Butler. They'll be part of the second session after Marquette and Villanova. Now, I covered Marquette in the second game last night, Marquette versus DePaul. Now, Marquette came out smoking in the first half, really putting pressure on DePaul and making it difficult for them to score. DePaul only scored 27 points. But in the second half, that was the tell of the game. The game ended up being 72-69. And I mentioned DePaul only scored 27 points in the first half. They shot 33% from the field. In the second half, they shot 50%. So that goes to show you how they were able to open up the game. A lot of that had to do with Marin Maric. He shot 7 of 12 from the field, but he was able to get to the free throw line exclusively in the second half. That really put Marquette in foul trouble. Now, Marquette was able to survive with some great scoring from Andrew Rousey, especially after DePaul tied the game at 61. Rousey was able to go on a quick 5-0 run to really give Marquette some breathing room. Now, you're saying it's only 5 points, but at that point in the game, especially with DePaul making a run with some great play from Morridge, but also Max Strus, who scored 19 points in the second half, a lot of them from the three-point variety, it really pushed Marquette in terms of execution down the stretch, and Rousey was able to knock down some key shots down the stretch. Now, Strus had an opportunity to tie the game to take the lead in the game in the latter parts. It was about 13 seconds left. He had an opportunity to take the lead. At that point, it was 70-69. He had just hit a three to get it within one, and the Garden crowd was going crazy. But at that moment, when Strus missed that three, he was wide open, left wing, and it was a shot you would expect him to make considering the threes he had made up until that point under duress. Wide open three, but it was just short. So DePaul fell short at that point. They finished the season at 11-20, so they won't be able to advance in the Big East tournament. But I felt like for that particular game, especially for the second part of day one, it was a great showing, and there should be some great games tonight. I mentioned St. John's Xavier. It's Marquette Villanova, Butler Seton Hall. So it should be some huge games for day two. I'll be covering. I'll have my recaps and everything broken down for you. This is Isaiah Rose, Ask Isaiah, Big East Tournament 2018.